Thank you. And great, there's the first slide. So for those of you who are familiar with Harman as a 70-year-old audio brand in the likes of Harman Kardon, JBL and AKG, etc., the other part of our business that is, where we're a world leader is we provide about 50% of all the in-car entertainment systems to vehicles around the world. And so where we sit today is a really exciting nexus of two rapidly changing industries, the audio industry, which we've been hearing a lot about today, and the automotive industry, which is probably becoming the most dynamic industry on the planet. And if we look at where we are today as a society, I thought about change, and this seemed to be the best slide that I could find. But I think we live in an age today where we are talking about constant change. And what we're seeing from technology is that technology is rapidly democratizing every single scarce resource and USP that established companies have been built on. We've just had a panel session about social, and I think that's one of the best examples of how you see mass democratization of access to innovation and creativity that doesn't confine itself to Western developed markets, but is really a truly global phenomenon. And this is set to continue, and this is also, I think, one of the things that the truly successful companies that we're seeing today and moving into the future view this as the opportunity. Suddenly the barriers to enter into new markets are removed. The challenges to realizing innovation and new technical challenges are being reduced all the time. And on that, voice is clearly now becoming the interface to the world. And as somebody who has sort of been in this space for about 20 years, roughly 20 years ago I was working in Mayfair at a company called Scion, and we were busy innovating the first open smartphone platform in the world in Symbian. But a big part of Symbian was that there was a large voice control element to it. We worked with companies like IBM and Dragon Naturally Speaking and Philips on what a voice-driven experience would look like. And at that point in time, we realized that the silicon wasn't fast enough. The memory was too expensive. We couldn't get the response times down to about 100 or less sub 100 milliseconds. And so it was a very unnatural experience when you talk to a machine and it didn't respond in time. If anyone remembers the Star Trek films and Scotty, when he's trying to save the whales, saying computer, and everybody looks at him and says, this guy's mad, he's talking to a machine and he's expecting a response from it. And yet here we are today, and we're talking about our children at home no longer interfacing with the radio, but talking to a device as naturally as they would talk to a human being. And that's where we are, I think, with audio today. And this is not confined to the home. And linking it to the automotive industry, what we're seeing is that audio is now becoming one of the big ticket items in automotive. And the automotive industry is right now going through, as I said earlier, an unparalleled level of change. What we're seeing is a number of key themes colliding. We have electrification of vehicles, which also plays a huge role in how we think about the cabin of the future in delivering an in-car entertainment experience. We're talking about connected services and bringing 4 and 5G into vehicles, and I will throw a provocative statement out there and say every time a new radio technology has been created, it spins off new industries that nobody expected, whether we're talking about text messaging or mobile web or the app economy. And with 5G, we are placing a number of bets that this is going to be one of the fundamental enabling layers of how you bring digital assistance universally into all devices. And there will be many, many other new industries that are created on the back of bringing connectivity into cars. Beyond that, we're talking about smart cities and the role of the vehicle and how it connects to the world around it. So no longer just talking about a vehicle that is thinking about itself, but imagine a vehicle that can connect to the citywide CCTV network and see round the corner and do things that a physical human being is just not able to do. And we're also obviously looking longer term at autonomous vehicles. And I made a statement recently that in the same way that my children do not understand what a dial tone is. And I told them I used to pick the phone up and it made this weird noise that told me I was able to punch the numbers and dial somebody. I think my grandchildren will never understand what a steering wheel is. This will be an alien concept, and it's not that far away. So we really see right now in automotive that this entire industry is facing a set of challenges, the scale of which have not been seen since somebody said, I think that horse could be replaced with an engine. And it's that kind of dramatic shift. Now, I was looking at some pictures the other day of New York City in 1909, and what you see is a road full of horses and one car. And then you look in 1919, and what you see is a road full of cars and one horse. And the scale and the speed of change was quite phenomenal. And I think this is also what we're going to see again. And one of the big trends that leads to, when you look at all this, and what a lot of the OEMs in the automotive industry are betting on, is three results of this. The connected car leading to a lot of new monetization platforms. That we will see a rapid personalization of the in-vehicle experience. And what you see here is the Jaguar learning car platform. So today, if you buy a new Jaguar Land Rover vehicle, the vehicle learns about you very, very quickly, and it provides a lot of machine learning algorithms to figure out everything from how heavy you are and how hard you press on that seat, how aggressively you press on the accelerator, the brake, what temperature you set the cabin to, and how the outside world affects that temperature and how you change it over time. The volume you set the audio to when you first start the engine versus what you do over time and how frequently you change the radio station. And then it starts presenting menus and services to you, and it starts to automate some aspects of this. It also recognizes when a different driver is in the car, so it doesn't start being really confusing that if my wife gets into my car, she's not presented with a set of alien experiences that become frustrating. She's presented with experiences that are tuned to her. And so that also leads to the concept of the vehicle becoming very adaptive. And all this means that what we're taking consumers on and drivers and passengers on is a journey where the car is moving from what it has been for the last 80 years, predominantly an environment that was there to keep you safe while moving from A to B, to an environment that is there to be personal, and in many ways to be a place of entertainment or a place of relaxation. And what we see in this context is it's opening up a lot of new innovation, and it's opening up the opportunity to engage consumers in new conversations. It's very unusual now to go in and talk in a car dealership just about the engine size, the 0 to 60 economy, or the range anxiety if you're buying a Tesla. And the traditional things that you would talk about, what you're now talking about are the sound systems, the size of the LCD display, the quality, am I getting HD navigation, what kind of extras, have I got a connected car experience, is this car being kept up to date? Today we are, through our over-the-air technology, we have 30 million cars already on road where we're updating the software on a regular basis, and consumers are really understanding this. They're not expecting the experience in the vehicle to be static anymore. And so you see here some of the technologies that we're working on. The independent sound zones is my personal favorite. This is the concept, and I have to say here I'm a father of 4 children, so you can imagine our car journeys are somewhat challenging at times, especially when the arguments are about who's looking out the window and who didn't get a window to look out of. So the idea that now each one of my children can have their own space in the car where they listen to their music coming out of the speakers, and it doesn't interfere with their siblings sitting next to them, and more importantly, they're not inflicting their music onto me, because apparently my music is very boring and out of date. But it's a very personalized individual experience that gets better over time. We heard from the gentleman from Sonos this morning, the concept of it gets better over time. This is expected all the time that we are working on these improvements. Back to some of the earlier comments about, for hardware companies, it's not about how good your hardware is anymore, it's how great your software is. That's really important, because that's the bridge between keeping that engagement going with the consumer, continually providing a delightful experience of something they may have bought 1, 2, or in the case of a car 10 to 15 years ago. And the whole area of sound management inside the vehicle is really a strong area of innovation, from understanding the road noise and what do you do with the road noise and how do you cancel that out in the cabin, to, again, obviously creating the most authentic, realistic playback of audio experiences inside the vehicle, through to what do we do when people are talking and they're engaging in conversations, and we have all these challenging little bits of technology like fans that are blowing air all around the cabin and disrupting the audio properties. So from our perspective, what we're seeing today is there's absolutely no slowdown in the level of innovation. What we see happening next, and why, again, audio is so important, is we're going to bring digital assistants into the vehicle. And I'm going to steer away from the word artificial intelligence, because the amount of data to train an AI on what a car looks like does not yet exist in the world, and it will not exist for many years. A car is a very unique experience. There are lots of really specialized challenges that you have to think about. One, for example, is if that car is in a autonomous or semi-autonomous mode, and I need to give you control back as a human being, how do I know you are ready to take control of that vehicle? How do I understand your cognitive load? These are very, very unique challenges that do not exist in a home, they do not exist in an office, they don't exist in a retail environment, but they absolutely exist inside a vehicle. So what we will see over the next sort of 4 to 5 years are the introductions of digital assistants that help us to, again, personalize and automate a lot of the experiences, that learn about our preferences, that are able, when the car is in the right mode, to also tell us about things we will be interested in, and to bring that, maybe it's an information layer or a point of interest, up to the top of the navigation experience. But we will certainly see, the likes of an Alexa or a Watson, a Bixby coming into the vehicle. And we will see existing experiences be redefined. Someone this morning mentioned radio, and I absolutely believe that radio is going nowhere. It is a platform that will just get reinvented again and again and again, because there are too many people on a day-to-day basis engaging with the radio experiences in vehicle. But what we do expect to have happen is that the radio will become a fully digital experience, and the interface to how you work with radio and what you can do with radio will increasingly become more interactive, particularly as we evolve through autonomous level 5, which is still probably 10 years away. But once we get to level 3, level 4, where we're not having to watch the road all the time, we are becoming free to think about other things, to take part in that phone and to engage in it in lots of different ways, maybe a combination of voice plus sending a tweet, and that becomes legally safe to do so. So that's some of the near-term things. And then if we look slightly further out, as part of or recently part of the Samsung group, what we are now seeing a massive convergence. So suddenly, from a technology standpoint, our playbox is much, much bigger than it's ever been. But we're seeing at the processor level, processor innovations are enabling lots of new capabilities, particularly in the area of sound management. Camera technology and sensor fusion networks, again, allowing the vehicle not only to understand the world around it, but to understand the world inside it. How many people are sitting in this vehicle? What mindset are they in? What kind of conversation is taking place? When is it appropriate to engage? One of my personal favorites is, as we improve the audio and we think about health and fitness, listening to my heartbeat while I'm driving and just saying, can I detect an arrhythmia? Can I give you a health checkup while you're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes going to the office? And I say that because I also believe we'll be taking samples of people's DNA and being able to say, actually, we can detect a condition, we can prevent the condition, and we can recommend what to do all before you get to the office after you left home 20 minutes ago. But that also means the whole experience in vehicle will change again. So as we go through this revolution over the next 5 years, as soon as we get to the end of that, there's no letting up. There will be another revolution. And as you can see here, we're starting to explore the idea of fully autonomous vehicles. What does it mean to be in a fully autonomous vehicle? So the first thing hopefully you see is the seats are facing in different directions. People are looking relaxed. They're doing lots of different things. This year at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, we showed 4 different modes to the vehicle. So the obvious one is, right, okay, you start consuming content. Great. we need fantastic audio. The second one is you start relaxing. Again, fantastic. We need amazing audio experiences to help you relax. But now we bring in lots of interesting things like lighting colors and other things to help you relax. Or you work. And again, now maybe you turn the windscreen into a digital windscreen and that becomes your display. And suddenly your display is 60 inches wide in a car. And now you're involved in real-time video conferencing because again, you've got your 5G modem in there so you can do all these things in real time. And again, you need real-time and great audio experiences. And there are a number of other technologies and other innovations taking place. For anybody based here in the UK, you may have seen 2 weeks ago that Dyson announced that it's moving into the vehicle market. And so again, you look at the technology that Dyson brings, and they're talking about innovations in batteries. I'm looking at their fans and saying, wow, can we finally eliminate the air being blown around a cabin? Because that, from an audio standpoint, creates a lot of challenges for us. But of course, as we change the usage of the vehicle, we start to encounter other challenges. Suddenly people are facing in different directions. The material fit and finish inside the vehicle is very different, so the audio properties are constantly being changed. And we'll probably see in this time frame that a lot of the cabin environment is being printed using 3D technologies so that we can manage a lot of the challenges of thermal heat dissipation when you're talking about all the technology that's residing inside the car. So is it unrealistic that you'll be buying a vehicle in 10 years' time and you'll be paying to have the vehicle audio tuned because of the quality of the audio and the different types of environments that you're wanting to use? And of course, as new innovations come along, that's an opportunity for OEMs to keep selling the updates and the upgrades into the vehicle as well. And I'm really glad on the last conversation someone mentioned the word ecosystem, because where we see this moving is not that the vehicle is an individual item disconnected from the rest of somebody's life. It is an integral part of what you do on a day-to-day basis. And the services and the experiences that you have will not stay confined to the vehicle. They will become a seamless part of how you live your life. So the use case that I constantly champion internally is when I'm driving home and I'm listening to the football, and I'm a Nottingham Forest fan, so it's a lot of pain and a harsh experience to listen. But when I get home, if that is being shown on the TV, I want to walk through the door and I wanted to instantly retune the TV to the game, so my experience just continues. The way in which it's being delivered to me is taking advantage of the best and the greatest technology available. But the idea that what I do in the car does not flow to the other services and the other locations, again, I think will become very outdated very, very quickly. Likewise, I mentioned earlier doing video conferencing. On the way to the office, as soon as I get to the office, I would expect all of those services to seamlessly flow with me and be moved into different locations. So again, I would say for anybody who is looking at the world and thinking about, delivering products and services and experiences that only ever exist in one place, that's going to be a really tough business model to operate and be successful with moving forwards. Lots of ground covered. Hopefully some of it made sense, and I think my closing thought is what we're facing now is not a technology challenge. There are lots and lots of great innovations. It's more the imagination challenge. If you have the ideas, the technologies and the capabilities are absolutely going to be there to build them. On that, I will finish there, and thank you very much.
Question for Andrew, because I know it's a very informative presentation. Has anyone got any questions at all?
At the back.
Thank you. Barry Fox and C. Daly. Yes, most interesting. But I wonder if you'd like to comment. Do you think you're perhaps losing sight when you talk about cancelling road noise, separate audio environments, health checks, video conferencing? I realise that that's future with autonomous vehicles. But a lot of what you're saying does seem to overlook the fact that a car is a lethal weapon. And there have been a lot of examples of people using technologies in cars and lorries, not responsibly, and causing considerable death and destruction and damage. So I'd just like to hear, do you think that you're also considering what it is that people are listening in?
Absolutely. So I can only cover so much in a presentation in 20 minutes, but one of the areas that we also are investing heavily in and is a big part of our innovation focus is cybersecurity, and I'll touch on part of that. When you look at cybersecurity, you've got two areas: preventing people getting in and what you do once they are in. So we are looking at models, and particularly with our cloud platforms and capabilities of, if you understand that driver, if you've built a profile of that driver, and I'm going to take one of the lorries that was stolen and used in some of the horrific incidents in Paris. That vehicle should have understood, I'm a lorry, I'm allowed to do this is how the driver drives. And as soon as there was a deviation, there should have been a degradation of the capability of that vehicle. And that should have been a call, and a cybersecurity system should be able to stop vehicles being used in those ways in the future. Likewise, when you've got a connected vehicle and you're connected to a citywide infrastructure, you're able to have the vehicle look around the corner, understand it's 3:20 in the afternoon, the children are coming out, there's more likely to be a child playing with a ball and running out from between cars. And I can suddenly do things that I just cannot do in a disconnected world with vehicles we've been building for the last 50 years. But yes, we do look at this a lot. I touched also on the cognitive load. So we were showing earlier this year how to use pupil analysis to understand whether someone is awake. So if they've been in the car, they've been relaxing, you're in autonomous level 3, and you suddenly need to give control back. There's lots of legal and interesting areas, such as, well, what if that person's not ready to take control? What if they're not alert enough? Should the vehicle just remain in control, even if legally you should have handed it back because you come to the end of the autonomous zone? But you slow the vehicle down, you pull it over to the side of the road, you have kind of a limp home type mode that you go into, so that you don't suddenly put somebody in a situation where they're driving a dangerous missile at 60 miles an hour and the traffic 20 yards in front has come to a dead stop because it's the middle of the rush hour. So yes, it is a very big area of research, and I think for anybody in the automotive industry, we understand that what we are dealing with here, whether intentional or unintentional, are potentially very dangerous weapons. And a lot of the reason why we're pushing the technology agenda is to make everything much, much safer. I would say, I'll give you one stat. If you look at the millions of miles driven on the road today in America, it's an average about 60 million miles for every death on the road. For a Tesla, it's 125 million. Now, when someone dies in a Tesla, it gets lots of coverage, but the reality is you're less likely to die and you're less likely to kill somebody else. And I'd also point to a lot of the themes. If you look at Volvo, and they talk about by 2020, nobody is killed by a Volvo, not killed in a Volvo, killed by a Volvo. So they're, again, looking at these technologies and saying, how do we make sure we make society safer for everybody, and not just push technology without responsibility. I think, great question, and I'm glad I had the opportunity of talking about a few of these things.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
Thank you.
I'm sure over the networking drinks you'll be able to answer a few more questions for everyone. It was a fascinating presentation. Thank you very much.